Peter, and it's time for an unmasked movie review. So I just got back from seeing How to Train Your Dragon 3. So a little bit of a history here with me in the How to Train Your Dragon series. I really liked the first one. I really like this way that dragons are portrayed, particularly Toothless. I find him to be this beautiful, adorable mix of like a cat and a dog almost. And my wife's also a big fan of the movies, and she actually has this Toothless hat that she wears a lot. So I really liked the first one. The second one I liked even more. The second one was really emotional, really good. I can't say the movies are perfect. I definitely have issues with them, but the second one I really loved. The villain is just a pure force of chaos in it. He's not well developed. And even in the first movie, the villain in that was essentially an entity rather than an actual character. And I found those interesting. Well, interesting in the sense that it was just for the sake of having a villain. I found it engaging. Obviously, there's not a lot of depth to either of them, but I enjoyed them a lot. This is sort of this series is sort of a family thing between my wife and my father-in-law, because he's a Norwegian, and he really likes the Viking aspect of it. In fact, here's a picture of him wearing a Viking hat. So it's like a big family bonding thing. We always go see them together. I'm going to go see this movie again, probably with him, because he just loves these movies. And so when the third one came out, I know it came out like a month ago, or almost, and it had like advanced screenings. I didn't get to see those advanced screenings, obviously. And I really wanted to. I didn't watch too many of the trailers. I just knew that there was a female dragon in it. So I'm going to do a quick sum up of the plot, or just the basic premise, and then I'll go into the things I like and didn't like. So, basically, this takes place only a year after the second movie, and Hiccup and his gang have been going around just rescuing captured dragons or bringing them back to their island, and it's gotten to the point where the island is overcrowded, and they've essentially become a target for people who hunt dragons. So, Hiccup decides to venture out and try to find this hidden world where dragons and humans can coexist that nobody knows about. That it was a story his father told him when he was a child, and also at the same time they are being hunted now by not only they're like an army, but like a particular guy who essentially is the reason that Night Furies are extinct. He killed all the Night Furies except one. It's his like dream to kill all of them, and on top of that, Toothless kind of finds a mate, basically. This is no spoiler in the trailers. You see that there's a female Night Fury or a Light Fury, and the joke going around is they didn't want to call it a White Fury, which, let's not call it that. So then there's that element, and it all builds up to a conclusion that I think everybody can see coming, but I don't think anyone will dislike. So right off the bat, I've never been a fan of Hiccup's voice. I don't think anyone is. It's just really jarring when you have a bunch of people going like, "Oh, Hiccup, we need to get our dragons onto the sky, or into the sky. Hiccup, what are you doing?" And then you have him going, "We need to get our dragons into the sky. We need to hurry." Are you sure you're one of us? Yes, I'm one of you. So that always bothered me. It didn't bother me this time around. I think mostly just because I knew what to expect. It was incredibly jarring in the first movie. And the second movie, even though I knew it was coming, it was when he was talking about peace, and we need to try diplomacy, Dad. We need to try peace. I just wanted to kind of punch him. I never disliked the character. I actually really, really like Hiccup as a character, but his voice is really grating. And thankfully here, I don't know if it's just because I'm used to it or if he's toned down, but I actually didn't mind it at all here. I found his voice to be just fine. And another shock with this one is that I've never liked Astrid, really. I've never found her to be a particularly interesting character. Here I actually liked her. I liked their chemistry. I liked their relationship. It was definitely improved from the last two movies. And I'll even say that his band of brothers, his friends, his little group of friends, I think they got better as well. In the sense that they are more competent this time around. They actually get things done. One thing I wish is that they didn't really evolve their personalities at all. They're still one-note jokes, and for the most part, I think the jokes are fine. There's nothing I don't think the comedy in this movie is anything to write home about. There's nothing in here that I was like really laughing hard at, but it was very endearing. And, like the one brother, just like he constantly talks about having this great beard when it's actually his hair just tied right here, and he's talking about how great his beard is. Like, I have a better beard than this kid. Obviously, this is nothing. So that was funny. The only one, I think this character is voiced by Jonah Hill, is the short, stubby character who, for some reason in this movie, wants to bang Hiccup's mom and wants to be like a leader or something. I really don't get it. It's really borderline uncomfortable, and they just keep doing it, and it's really, really odd, and I didn't enjoy it. And the one guy, I forget his name, the guy who they got from the last movie, he doesn't really, he's in this movie, but he doesn't really do anything. And the same can go for Hiccup's mother. She was like a big deal in the last movie. Here she's just kind of there. It's kind of like they introduced the character in the second movie with no plan for longevity, because yeah, she's just kind of a side piece in this movie. And Hiccup in this movie does not feel like a leader at all. But it's hard for me to complain about that because he acknowledges that he doesn't feel like a leader, and it's definitely a warranted complaint, and it shows both in the animation and his performance. And another thing I want to talk about this movie, that just fucking far and away, this is some of the best animation I've ever seen. Like, holy shit. One of my complaints with this series is that it takes forever for the next installment to come out, because the first one was 2010 and 2014, and now it's 2019, and we're just getting the final installment. And holy shit, do they fucking take their time with the animation. Oh my god. This is some of the most gorgeous fucking animation I've ever seen. Like, everything is so texturized. Like, if you didn't see cartoon characters, you would assume half of these backgrounds were like live action. Particularly when he's flying over the water just looks like real water. And when there's a scene where Toothless is drawing in the sand, and the sand looks like real fucking sand. Like, I was like sitting there like, Jesus Christ, is this why these movies take so long? This animation is insane. And they do a lot of long extended takes in this movie with a lot of action choreography, and it's almost to the point where you're just like, what do I pay attention to? There's so many things to pay attention to, but it's all good. But the overall plot of this movie is the trailer is a little misleading. Not really so much the trailer, but the title. The title of the movie is How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World. And it's really not that much about the hidden world. It's more about Hiccup and Toothless's relationship, and him learning to let go of Toothless in a way because he's falling for this female dragon. And it's interesting. I don't have a problem with that. This isn't my problem, but the problem with that as a movie is that it doesn't lend itself to a lot of action, which is my complaint about the movie. I guess the biggest complaint, but it's not even that it's bad. It's just that this is probably the least interesting villain out of the entire trilogy. I mean, his motivation is just the old prejudice we dealt with in the first movie and the second movie. And, I mean, when you see him, the guy looks like he's going to be threatening. Like, he has this very elongated design. And you think he's going to be like this sly, cool guy. He's really kind of incompetent, though. And it shows at one point where he captures somebody and then lets them go because they're annoying, which there's a reason for it, but it just comes off like, it doesn't come off as threatening, it just comes off as funny, which I'm sure is the intent for the sake of comic relief, but for the sake of building an intimidating villain, it fails. The villain had a very good intimidating moment when he first introduces himself to Hiccup, where he just breaks into Hiccup's house. And he has this whole plot where he's controlling dragons by poisoning them with their own venom, which I guess it's fantasy, so you can accept it, but the science nerd in my brain is like, you can't poison something with its own venom. It doesn't work that way. At least as far as I know. Don't correct me. But yeah, so he wasn't much of a presence, and even this sort of army that Hiccup rescues these dragons from, they don't feel like a real threat. They just feel like something that has to be there to keep people invested in the movie, because the movie more so focuses on interpersonal character drama rather than a conflict. The conflict is Hiccup learning to let go of Toothless while also learning to lead, and the whole villain thing is just there to be another conflict, but it's the action conflict. It's not the emotional conflict. But it's not that it's bad. It really isn't bad. It's just not entirely necessary, and it feels like it's included just for the sake of having a villain. Now, with that said, there is action, not as much as you'd expect, and it doesn't have that same epic scale that the last movie had. I think the second one definitely felt the grandest and the most epic, and this one is definitely probably the most emotional. It's hard to say actually. If you've seen the second one, you know there's a point in the middle or the third act, the beginning of the third act, where it's incredibly emotional. This is sort of emotions the whole way through, and I really like that. But it doesn't have that same epic scale. It does what it needs to do, and it's just hard to complain about it because it's not like everything that's in it is bad. It's just hard to make this into an engaging movie because you have to have those action beats for the children when really it's clear that the directors wanted to focus on the emotional aspect. But the emotions are well done and the visuals are well done. This is a fucking gorgeous movie. When you actually see the hidden world, holy fuck, the coloring is very akin to Aquaman's coloring, but done so much fucking better. And I thought, I didn't like Aquaman, but I thought Aquaman was a pretty looking movie. This fucking knocked Aquaman out of the water. No pun intended. Yeah, and the conclusion of this, like I said, it's nothing anybody wouldn't expect, but it is very effective, it's very emotional, and it's very, very much the Toy Story 3 ending. I just hope they don't fuck this up with a How to Train Your Dragon 4. And yeah, when it ends on a clip show, so I don't think they're going to be building to another movie. This is definitely the last one. The last scene before the credits it's borderline fan fiction almost, but in a good way. It's like what you'd want to see and what feels right. It's not compromised to be one or the other. Yeah, this was a solid conclusion. If you told me one of the most solid trilogies of animated films would be titled How to Train Your Fucking Dragon, it sounds like an instructional manual, but it's actually a solid trilogy, I wouldn't have believed you. But it is. It's a solid movie. It's definitely worth the price of admission. Not as good as the second one. Probably on par with the first one. Maybe a little bit better. That's up to you. But I'm giving this one an 8.5 out of 10. Slightly held back by the unthreatening nature of the villain, and how they downplayed the mother kind of really bothered me, particularly because she was it was such this important thing in the second movie, and here she's just kind of a background piece. But for the most part, like I said, the movie succeeds and does everything it sets out to do with flying colors, literally. So that's it. What do you guys think? I don't know if anyone saw this. I know I'm a little late to this How to Train Your Dragon party, but leave a comment, let me know, we'll discuss it. I can actually respond to comments because this channel's small and shitty. Yay! So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.